There we go.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Mastermind Monday. This is actually going to be our final Mastermind Monday in July of this month. We've had sort of some holidays and some other things going on, but we are so excited today to bring you Leigh Brown. And let me tell you, well, first of all, we don't need any specific reason to invite Leigh Brown, of course, but one of the main reasons that we asked Leigh to pop in today to do sort of a PSA for us about the Realtor Relief Foundation, of which she is the vice chair, is because we are planning, and hopefully you've gotten a save the date for August 26th. We are having a summer soiree open to all New England region RRC members, as well as guests of theirs. We're going to have some special events and raffles for bringing guests at the beautiful, beautiful home of Nora Lynch in Sherburne, Mass. We're having we're having an open bar. I was trying to say that. I realized it is an open bar. We're having an open bar. Oh, just got tons of people from that. We're having hors d'oeuvres and just a whole bunch of fun fellowship. We're really looking forward to that. But one of the things we wanted to do, because we do want to make it a member benefit, is that we thought we would ask for I don't want to say mandatory, a suggested $20 minimum donation to the Realtor Relief Foundation. So that is happening. So the event is the summer soiree, August 26th. You're going to be hearing lots more about that. And the donation again is to the Realtor Relief Foundation. So we thought, who better to get us psyched up and more educated and more committed to the mission of the Realtor Relief Foundation than Leigh Brown has been involved for so many years. So Leigh, I'm just going to turn this over to you. We always love the energy you bring to us, the commitment, and really just showing up to make our realtor world a better place. You are a mentor to all of us in so many ways. I really, really mean that. So love to spend this next 30 minutes with you.
Well, thank you, Lisa and Christine and Nora. And hey, Brenda and Steve, glad to see you guys, and hope everybody else will watch this sometime later because, realtors and their schedules are not always, on the same page. But I'm so glad to hear what you guys are doing as far as masterminding and also thinking ahead about what you're going to have the opportunity to participate in with Realtors Relief. So for many of the members of Realtor World, it's the best kept secret. We just don't talk about the foundation until something happens. So the quick backstory on Realtor Relief Foundation is that it was founded after 9/11. So when the terrorists hit the Twin Towers, hit the Pentagon, we saw Flight 93 go down with some of the best American heroes that we should be remembering their names every day. That all happened on 9/11 and we all just stopped. It's one of those dates in history where we all know exactly where we were and what we were doing when that happened. Well, remember that as realtors, your days, just like you didn't show up here on time, right? So whoever's watching this later, because your days change every day. Well, on 9/11, when that occurred, suddenly you had realtors around the country saying, and what realtors do is after they have that moment of shock, they're like, okay, so what do we do? What do we do? Because realtors are great at rolling their sleeves up. And at the time, our national leadership team was Martin Edwards from Memphis, Tennessee, Richard Mendenhall from Columbia, Missouri. We had Kathy Watley from Jacksonville, Florida, and Pat Kaplan from wherever Pat Kaplan lives. And it just left my head. So if Pat sees this, please don't shoot me. But Pat Kaplan was our treasurer at the time. So that was our leadership team. And as realtor leaders, they were out traveling. They were all away from home, everywhere. Well, they found a way to call each other. No small shakes, because remember in 2001, this was before the era of the iPhone. So before all of us had phones glued to our hands. So they had to go find a phone and reach each other and say, okay, guys, what are we going to do? And that's where the Realtor Relief Foundation came into being. Those four individuals said, this is what we have to do to step in and provide emergency housing help for the people who have been impacted by these terrorist attacks. So realtors over the next 100 days raised $8.5 million. That's how fast and quickly realtors jumped in. And what you got to think about here is, all right, Lisa, why does that money even matter? We have the Red Cross, there's FEMA, the government, they're so helpful. And so we have all these other organizations already in place, but they're slow as molasses. So you look at FEMA. How long does it take FEMA to bring in help? It takes as long as it takes bureaucrats to get off their dead asses because they're in their little comfortable houses and they don't always think about individuals. like realtors do. And the Red Cross is a bureaucracy. And so they're going to have to go through all of their little steps, but realtors don't always follow rules. We kind of make them up as we go along. We raised money. We took it right out and gave it to people. Hey, you need a hotel? Here's some cash to help you pay for that hotel. Hey, you need a new apartment? Hey, this will help with the security deposit. So that's where it started. And what's happened in the 20 years since then is frankly remarkable when you realize that most realtors still don't even know this exists. We've given out over $33 million to people at a time of disaster. That's over 17,000 families that have been helped by Realtor Relief Funds. And I do feel the need to remind everybody, because we've already had some fuss budgets that want to pick all the language apart of everything. As defined by HUD, family is whoever all lives together in a house. It could be one somebody. It could be this collection of adults and these adults plus kids. And it's people in a household. So just remind y'all of that, because we have people that get upset about the wrong things, but that's a different discussion for a different mastermind session. So we have over 17,000 different families that have been helped by realtors. And here's the thing. When a disaster strikes, so let's just say Hurricane Sandy, because Massachusetts and the Northeast were massively hit by Hurricane Sandy, and it was just devastating, right? You had people out of their houses, flooded out, power out, no cell phones, no nothing. So a grant request is made to the Realtor Relief Foundation by a state or a local association. So it's realtor to realtor makes a grant request. The National Association of Realtors Foundation says yes, as often as we possibly can when we have the information. And then people can make grant requests of that total bucket. So let's say, for example, we gave out $500,000 as a total grant. That's going to be divvied up in whatever increment is requested. So it tends to be $1,000 to $1,500 per household. So it's enough money to help Band-Aid somebody until Red Cross gets there or FEMA can help. And it's small enough that we can help as many households as possible. So a member of the community says, I need help. The help that the realtors give is not just to realtors. That's a myth that we hear a lot, is that it's realtors raising money for realtors. No, it's realtors raising money for neighbors in need. So it's available to people across the neighborhoods and spectrum. If they hear about it, they can apply for the help. And even better, it's realtor volunteers who hand the checks out. So realtors become the boots on the ground and say, I don't have anything to sell right this minute because a hurricane wiped out all my inventory. And what do realtors do? They don't sit around and fuss. They say, I'm going to just pitch in while I can. And so realtors go hand the checks to people. And we are so fast. I mean, we get the money into their hands in days. And that's what's been happening for 20 years. We've helped out in currently 38 states and territories after tornadoes, wildfires, floods, volcanoes. We helped out in Hawaii when the volcanoes were erupting and burning houses to the ground. We've helped out after, of course, the terrorist attacks at 9/11, but also, if you remember, in Nashville, Tennessee, there was a Christmas Day terrorist bombings just this past year. And excuse me, we helped out there as well. Because even in a downtown area, you have residential properties. Excuse me, getting all choked up about Realtor Foundation. But what happens too is that the National Association of Realtors, being the world's largest grassroots organization, when the foundation was created, made a very specific decision that the money raised would go back out. So we, the Realtor organization, cover the overhead. So if a realtor member makes that $25 suggested gift, or they decide to be really smart and do like, $1,000 because they can, that $1,000 goes right back out to neighbors in need. It's not that the realtors are taking the cut off the top for the marketing and the staff and all this other stuff. We, the realtors, cover that. And I think it's an amazing story, because if y'all are like me, I go to that Gold Star website and I look behind all these charities and I get really, really snippy with the cashiers at the grocery store when they don't know that organizations like United Way, which look like they're doing a lot of good, use up about 73% of their money on overhead salaries and bonuses, but not the realtors. That's not what we do. We are given the gift from somebody who says, I want to help this person in need. And the realtors say, I will just carry it from here to there, and we're not going to take anything off the top. And so it really dispels that myth that realtors are a bunch of money grubbing bloodsuckers, because that's not even who we are. We work very hard for what we're paid when we conduct professional services. But by the same token, we're also doing things that really are just a striking example of what good stewardship looks like. So this year, of course, being the 20th, I don't want to really call it an anniversary, but the commemoration of what happened at 9/11, because we don't want to act like it's something to celebrate, but it's definitely something to remember. And frankly, the thing that I remember the most about 9/11, outside of the shock of watching the towers go down, y'all remember this, churches were full, everybody flew American flags. I mean, as a country, we were together. I mean, everybody put aside what they were fussing about and said, we're America, you're not going to do this to us, and we're going to have each other's backs, which I loved that moment. I hope that moment comes back and stays back. So during this year, that's part of what President Charlie Oppler's goal is, that we can increase awareness of the Realtor Relief Foundation so more of us can tell the story in listing appointments and buyer appointments about, hey, the apps that you might look at and click on that look really easy, look convenient, they are the money grubbers, not the realtors. The realtors are over here, micro entrepreneurs, small businesses working in our communities, and not just working to get paid, but working to serve in times of need. So it's an entirely different story to tell. We would love to have more members tell that story, but also we are, of course, raising money this year. And what's the money going to? Well, as the vice chair on the board, the thing that keeps me up at night is this fear that one day we will have to say no to a grant request because the kitty will run dry. Because for 20 years, this thing has run literally on a shoestring without a whole heck ton of bylaws and policies. I mean, we have policies, but we're not like super bureaucratic. So when the money goes down, we ask for money and members give money, and then the money gets asked for, we give the money away. So we have to get more money. So this year, we're hoping that we can get enough of a base in place that we can get to an actual endowment amount. So it'll take us about 4 years to hit a full endowment where we can fulfill the size grant requests that we get. But so far, we've already raised about $4.5 million in 2020 amongst realtor associations and brokerages. And we're just now putting out the word to you, to individual members, so that we can do a really great grassroots organization. So if each one of us gave, for example, $9.11 in an homage to 9/11, or $19.11 or $911 would be wonderful too. Then if each one of our 1.5 million members gave a gift of that size, we would have such a wonderful foundation financially, so that for the future, we can always be ready to assist in times of need. And that's that's just me randomly talking about. I could talk about this for days because I love us, and it's the best story that we don't tell. So I'd love to answer any questions that you guys have, or just chat a little bit about the logistics if you're curious about that. And for the record, make sure you tell all the realtors that you know, there's going to be a member-wide phone bank on September 10th. We, of course, did not want to do anything on 9/11 because that's such a sacred day, especially this year. But on September 10th, we're hoping to have this massive telethon to reach as many members as possible to, again, raise awareness of who the foundation is, and B, give people an opportunity to participate if they choose. And the two chairs of the 20th campaign are Craig Wilburn from Gainesville, Florida. Craig has chaired the Florida's Disaster Foundation as well, because Florida Realtors has their own foundation. And then Dave Legaz, who is the current president of the New York Association of Realtors. Dave was a first responder and a firefighter on 9/11. And so Dave's story, I'm sitting here getting goosebumps just thinking about Dave's story, and I'm not even telling it, but you guys, it's just so, I mean, it's really shocking, right? So you think about realtors and how the turnover occurs in this industry. The estimate from Lawrence Yun, I'm trying to remember the number, I think it was that 60% of our realtor members today were not realtors in 2001. So they weren't even in the business at that time. And so they wouldn't have a connection to the foundation from that era. Or maybe they were members like me. I was a member. I actually had buyers in my car on 9/11 from New York. And they, of course, chose not to relocate to North Carolina. They decided to stay in New York and dig their heels in. But I wasn't connected to the association at that time. So I didn't know that the foundation was birthed, because I was just out there every day trying to sell houses. So you think about how vibrant of an organization we are. There's all these new members. There's people who don't know about this. It's just such an amazing opportunity to do really good things and go from being realtors who are reviled in the media and in Hollywood to really showcasing that we're truly just an army of good.
That's such an amazing way to say it. I'm just, Shannon Buss, who's on our leadership team, made the suggestion when we were in the planning phases. I know. I just want to make sure I give credit where credit's due. In the planning phases of this event. And I'm just so excited that we're going to be running with it. And now that I know it's $25 as a suggested donation, we're going to change that immediately to $25. I think there has continued to be some myths around the fact that it goes to non-realtors. When we had the run in Boston, when we had an AR there, we did some work in my brokerage at the time, Leading Edge, around this, and I presented it to that group then. And it was just so interesting to realize how many people, as you said, don't know about this, have total misinformation about it. And so once you can't kind of unknow this stuff, right? And it is an amazing story to tell about, as you say, about some of the good that we are doing in the world, So I guess I would ask you to tell us where you can also point us to some resources that we can share, from just conversations to listing appointments. We're certainly I'll make sure when we're doing our little bit here in New England that, we continue to tell the story of Realtor Relief Foundation in light of this event. But, help us with some materials, and then maybe I certainly want to open it to other questions. I just always have so many questions.
Absolutely. And Ann's asking the same thing. So obviously y'all are on the same page. There will be a ton of marketing information. We're currently working with the marketing department to get all of these collateral items built. We've shot a lot of video. We actually talked to a lot of realtor members who are the ones who have handed checks to families in times of crisis and have been there in that really emotional moment to talk about. I mean, if you think about just money in general, it's just such a cold thing until you realize what money can do. And you think about the scalability of that good. And it's why the Bible says that it's not money that's evil, it's the love of money that's evil. And you look at what money can actually do as an instrument of trade between thinking people. And it's such a beautiful thing. So we're going to have a lot of videos to that respect. We're also going to see a lot of press releases. You will see this go out through all the industry publications. And yes, Diane, this will be across everywhere. You're going to see it come through a lot of our partners, like Realtor.com has actually already signed on to the foundation campaign, and they've made a 6-digit gift to the fund. We've seen, in fact, our largest gift came from, currently from Florida Realtors. They've made the largest gift, but the largest per member gift came from Lawrence, Kansas, which is a 300 member board, gave $10 per member, which is a huge per member gift from an association. And we're just seeing it's just, I won't say I'm shocked. I'm flabbergasted, because when we went into this initially, our goal was $2 million. And we're like, oh, can we get $2 million out of realtors? Because we're notoriously a difficult group to squeeze money out of unless it promises us 100 listings. And so that was blown out of the water by associations and by our industry partners. And we do feel that as the members get a hold of this, it's going to be big. And by the way, what a wonderful thing, as we get those collateral items with the videos and the press releases and the website gets finished, you guys are going to love the logo, and the theme of the campaign is Hope Rising. And it's really cool. It looks like stained glass because at Realtor Relief Foundation, we help put the pieces back together. And I kind of wish we thought of that 1,000 years ago, because it's so pretty. And we're even going to have, see, Christine likes it too. We're even going to have some little coloring sheets that you can give to kids. And we think that's going to be helpful in times of crisis, because kids often get ignored when the parents are trying to get a roof over the head, and you got to keep them calm and keep them focused. So we'll have a ton of that kind of stuff coming out. But couldn't y'all reach out to your past clients, right? And say, hey, did you know that this opportunity exists? And if you'd like to be a part of future casting a solution, because in the past we've raised money reactively. How much does it change our entire outlook if you get proactive on it? So we have that in place. So there's going to be things you guys can do for client events, for association events, brokerages, RRC, for women's council. There's so many different things. And that's the current site, but we're going to have a whole different thing up and a new Facebook page. Lots of shareable things. We had to fight to get our own Facebook page. We won that battle last week. don't even get me started about sometimes the bureaucracy is not helpful, but that's all right because we're making progress and it's going to be fantastic. And you just going to start sharing this stuff. And you think about what we normally put on our own social media, right? We typically talk about the houses we sell and the open houses and inventory and mortgage, and we're so dreadfully boring and we're not engaging at all. When you get this great collateral material from Realtor Relief, you're going to be able to put a different message into your own marketing and say, I am proud to be a part of the solution and proud to be a part of future casting this. And then as you guys think about your own gift that you make, of course, because we're realtors, there's going to be a Realtor Relief 20th pin, and it's going to be amazing. And it's really going to be beautiful. It's going to have the stained glass for Hope Rising. So that'll be available. And there's going to be so much happening at San Diego regarding this. I really hope we hit the goal around the telethon. And Nora, I love that. So look, Nora Lynch in Greater Boston's already saying she's going to commit $911 in honor of her friend on flight 11. See, I mean, isn't it wild to think it's been 20 years? So the shortcut to make a gift is nar.realtor/RRF. If you want to go ahead and make a gift, knock yourselves out. You'll still get credit during the campaign, but the biggest thing you got to do is tell the story. So put the Facebook frame on your head, on your profile picture. Tell people. I have found that in North Carolina, so we of course get a lot of hurricanes. That's typically where we have had to tap into Realtor Relief in the past. My clients are just like realtors, like, what do we do? How do we help? It's not in my zip code, but what people want to help. People love being a part of solutions. They don't know where to start. So I've used my moving truck to collect things like, bottled water and diapers and batteries and the things that are very necessary. We can all do the same thing. And as you're making those collections, you talk about the RRF, and we can work alongside our foundation, which is going to do monetary gifts with some tangible things. So anyway, you're going to see so much coming out, but watch the NAR feeds. If you're not already watching the Realtors Facebook page, that's where staff really likes to put stuff. So make sure you've got that set as a favorite page so that Facebook doesn't just drop it down, although Facebook shouldn't be offended by realtors and RRF. So we should be okay in the algorithms. And just watch it, share it, and start adding a little bit of depth to your own feed. It's just, I just love what we do. And I really, really hope this is something that can be sustainable for 100 years, because we're going to always see natural disasters. And when they hit, there's just no way to know what you have to do next. And I point at the town of Paradise, California. If y'all aren't familiar with the story of Paradise, I think that was 2018 that occurred. And the wildfires, the town burned to the ground. I mean, 97% of the town burned. And when we think about fires, we think about a house fire. I want you to think about Paradise, the sewer lines melted. So you think about that, the fire was all the way into the ground. And to rebuild Paradise, you're not just talking ground up, you're talking in the ground to pull out and then redo. And it's such a huge process. You can't even see all the damage, but you also don't get to see all of the wonderful impact of solution bringing, because nobody sees sewer lines. And that was to me the wildest thing about it. And it was Realtor Relief that was there right away. Martin Edwards flew out and he toured the site with the local association. Everybody had to relocate. So all the realtors had to go find a business somewhere else. All the homeowners had to find somewhere else. And you know what happened to those realtors? They got adopted by this office and this office, and you can be a buyer agent here and you can be an assistant here. And realtors just started hiring each other and figuring it out. And it's such an untold, amazing story that needs to be told, because none of us knows when our community might be next. And that's why we want this to be in place.
So I'm going to reach out to you and to your assistant and see if we can pencil you in for some portion of Thursday, August 26th between 4 and 7 p.m. and wondering how between screens and technology and something, we can beam you in to our lawn soiree. We'll have a virtual cocktail there for you. And you can get everybody excited. And we can also do some additional fundraising at that event. So I will commit, as long as I'm president for the rest of this year, to continuing to really to try and raise the visibility of this important piece of our work, because it makes us all proud of who we are and what we do as well. Seriously, and the generosity that will just pour, because again, we are the ones, to those that much is given, much is expected, right? So that we really would like to share that. So we have some time for some additional questions. If anybody wants to jump in and share, Nora, please.
Leigh, thank you so much. And it took me 20 seconds to go onto that link and to make my contribution just right now. And you can have two in honor ofs, by the way. So if you're thinking about it, you can actually make it in honor of. So thank you so much, Leigh. That was fantastic.
Well, that's good to know. So thank you for letting me know that. I didn't know we had the in honor of part. So that's an extra perk where you could actually celebrate the person who brought you into real estate, or if you know somebody was affected by tragedy. And there's so many different ways we can elevate other people. So thank you for that, Nora. And thank you for choosing to financially support the foundation too.
So you had mentioned in terms
about RPAC.
in terms of process, Leigh. So if we, if I guess, big or small, like do we have to go through, let's say something happens in a community, here on Cape Cod where there's some, flooding, or I don't know, whatever the issue would be. And there's a neighborhood and families that are really impacted. And we want to just, reach out with some love and pour into those folks, but also with some financial support. How would I go about doing that?
That's Ryan Castle. So you would go to your association executive, Ryan Castle, and Ryan would put together the grant request. He would then send it to the National Association of Realtor staff or the foundation, who would help guide in any gaps that are missing in the grant request, because not everybody's familiar with it if they've never used it before. So we have a staffer, her name is Patty Garcia, and Patty is so ridiculously amazing. Patty walks through these association execs who've never done it to make sure they have the ability to be successful. And the way that we work, like we look at areas that have been declared a state of emergency by their governor, so that we're not just giving money because something looks bad. It's got to be an actual emergency. We look at how many houses were impacted. We look at the photos and the stories and the whole picture. And our goal is to say yes if something is a reasonable request. And we've been able to do that. And then what's our challenge sometimes is reaching neighbors, because you sometimes have an area where maybe it's rural or maybe it's lower income. How do those folks know this grant money is available? And a lot of times that's just up to the realtors to be out there to tell the story, because not everybody has a landline. So you can't just get in the yellow pages and call a zip code. Not everybody has social media, or if they do, the tech oligarchs decide what we do and don't see. And so you might have neighbors that never see that there's help available. And then you think about the newspapers. Nobody reads the newspapers. Not everybody has working transportation in all neighborhoods. And so you've got all these different roadblocks to us reaching the neighbors who need the help. And that's where the realtors are so impactful, because we're everywhere. As my granddaddy says, you can't swing a dead cat without hitting one. So you think about how we can be the person who reaches out on our own little past client phone trees and say, hey, if you've got a family member that was impacted, this is available. So all of those steps are in place, and we're going to continue to have challenges, I think, in an era of communication that is not as free and open as it used to be, where it's going to be up to realtors who are not afraid to pick up the phone and call people to help bring our communities together and share information.
Yeah. All right, great. So it really is right to our own association executive, and then they're familiar with what the next steps are, or they'll reach out and make sure that they get familiar. Okay.
And then like Massachusetts realtors could make a request on behalf of Cape Cod. It's like, say something happens and Ryan's overwhelmed because his house goes underwater. Well, you could reach out to Teresa and say, hey, Massachusetts realtors need y'all to run point on this. And Shazam, there's a way to make it happen. That's what realtors do. There's a reason we have the 3 layers of association life, local, state, and national. It's because at some point there's somebody else that can help make it happen.
Yeah, absolutely. So when can we start to look out for some of that stuff, Leigh? Do you want to, give us an idea of the timeline for us to start looking?
Should be any time now. I'd say probably watch the NAR Facebook page as the #1 place to watch, and then talk to your association execs, because they will be receiving information first. And we'll have everything out at the annual leadership summit in August in Chicago. So you'll see a lot of information there. So all of our president-elects and our association executives tend to go to that, and they'll be able to get all the tools to push this out, including a text to give, which that should be set up here very shortly, because everybody likes ease when it comes to giving. So I'm super excited about that.
Yeah, nice. No, we'll make sure we try to incorporate all of this production. And even if you can't attend our event, not you, hopefully we'll get you to beam in for a few minutes, but even if our members can't attend, we can certainly tell them that they can, become part of this amazing effort from.
And they can
New
give
England.
enough money to get a new pen. So whoop, whoop, whoop.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much, Leigh. This has been so amazing. Everybody, hey, I'm so glad that you tuned in. This again, of course, will be on our YouTube channel. Thanks to our Chief Technology Officer, Christine McClellan. Thank you to Nora Lynch so much for being here today as well. Our education chair. We will be signing off for a few weeks. We had made the decision to take the month of August off. Hey, we kind of need a vacation from our Mastermind Mondays as well. And then the first Monday in September is Labor Day. So we're looking at probably not circling back till Monday, September 13th, but I'm looking at a very blockbuster guest that I actually, let me see, I reached out to her to see if she'd be available. Oh, I haven't heard back, but I'm hoping that we're going to have a very blockbuster guest on that Monday the 13th. Hi, Raquel. Nice to see you. Actually, we got to get Raquel on for one of our Mastermind Mondays. She's an amazing gem in our industry about so many different areas. Anyway, so thank you so much, everybody. It's been wonderful. Hope you learned a lot and got fired up about some of the good works that we're doing with Realtor Relief Foundation. And we look forward, have a great August. And we look forward to seeing you in September.
Thank you so much.
Our pleasure.